Fumble Sports, hitting that follow button, and of course, hit that like button. Every time we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us. Here to answer all of your fantasy questions right up until kickoff of Thursday Night Football. Marius, yo, how you doing? I'm him. Is the Titans running back a good start tonight? I don't think so. I don't like anything about the Titans offense. I would fade the Titans in as many ways as possible. Appreciate all of you joining us for this Thursday Night Football pregame show. Make sure you're throwing in your questions, whether it's a game pick, total play, player prop bet, or of course, fantasy football questions for NFL Week 17. Philip asks, Dobbins or Foreman for a full PPR? I lean just slightly on J.K. Dobbins, just slightly, a little bit more than Foreman. In part because of that PPR. The Only Black Jesus asks, should I play McLaurin and Dotson or McLaurin and Devontae Smith? I like Devontae Smith a little bit more, simply because I think there's going to be an opportunity with Minshew throwing him the ball for him to get some points. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll around some of the action in tonight's game. Yeah, I don't think Malik Willis is getting 3 touchdowns, especially since he won't be starting tonight. The Titans have announced it's going to be Josh Dobbs, the quarterback out of Tennessee, the University of Tennessee, who's bounced around for a few years. They signed him just 8 days ago, but he'll be the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans tonight. So Malik Willis got benched after not showing anything in his few starts this year. AJ asks, Kittle or Akers at the flex? I like Cam Akers a lot, but right now I can't go away from George Kittle. He's had too many good weeks in a row. Clearly, Brock Purdy is relying a lot on him in the offense, especially without Debo Smith there. So while I like Cam Akers, I love George Kittle. I would go with Kittle at the flex. Appreciate the support, Cuse. Make sure you're all following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Zay Jones or Christian Kirk? Don't love the Jaguars matchup this week. That said, I'd probably lean just slightly towards Christian Kirk, simply because I think it's going to be the running game that really shows out for the Jaguars this week. But if I had to go with one, I would go with Christian Kirk, simply because he's the wide receiver one, more opportunities for him to be targeted. Jeff asks, Dak Prescott or Jalen Hurts? That's the easy one. It's Dak Prescott. Put him in tonight. I expect Dak Prescott to have a very big night tonight, whether it's throwing the ball, even opportunities to maybe run. I like Dak Prescott a lot, and obviously no Jalen Hurts. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Can I trust Aaron Jones this week, or do I start A.J. Dillon? Fortunately, you have some time just to learn about the injury status of Aaron Jones. I personally always like Jones more than Dillon because I'm relying too much on Dillon just getting touchdowns. With Aaron Jones, you're getting the opportunity not just for touchdowns, but between the 20s in the passing and run game. So as long as Aaron Jones is healthy, I prefer him always. I know Dillon kind of being a touchdown vulture will kind of lure you in, but I wouldn't go in that direction. I would go with Aaron Jones. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll around tonight's game. Just to give you guys a heads up, tonight's game right now has a 14-point spread with the Cowboys, the 14-point favorite. A lot of starters for both sides are going to be out of this game. No Tony Pollard, no Derrick Henry. A lot of starters for the Titans aren't playing simply because Mike Vrabel is resting them. This game means nothing to them in the standings, so he's getting them ready for next week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's part of the reason you won't see a lot of the normal starters for the Tennessee Titans. For that reason, you want to be very careful about how you bet this game. One thing you may want to consider, the over-under set at 40.5 points. That's one in which I like the under, even if it did have some of the stars playing in this one, might be a good play. Mr. Magoo, 111, Cooks or Gage, all I got. I would go with Brandon Cooks. Ronnie asks, Jalen Waddle or Gallup? I prefer Waddle. I actually think Waddle could have a good game even with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. AJ, do we still rock with Kittle if Debo is back? I don't think Debo will be back. I don't see why the 49ers would rush him back. He's back at practice. That doesn't mean he's going to be back on game day. So I like George Kittle for this week, and I don't think he'll be back. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. DeBrash, a very loyal follower. Appreciate you joining us tonight in this Thursday Night Football pregame show. Your question, Zay Jones or David Montgomery? I would definitely go with David Montgomery this week. I really like him against the Lions defense. A lot of opportunities for the Bears running game to be successful, so I really like David Montgomery. With Pollard out, should I play Dobbs, Moss, or Hodgins? I really like Romeo Dobbs this week simply because I think the Packers passing game is going to do really well against the Minnesota Vikings defense that is just terrible. That said, I also like Zach Moss, but not as much. I would lean just slightly towards Dobbs, slightly over Moss, but Moss might be a nice play if someone else in your lineup sits or is injured. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us and hit that like button. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll around tonight's game. The first quick poll that we'll have will be about 2 Dallas Cowboys in fantasy. I'll give that as a tease. Our first poll will be about 2 Dallas Cowboys and how they'll do in fantasy tonight. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we get up to 5,000 likes, we'll do that quick poll. G Sicky GF asks, who for flex, D-Hop, Walker, or Godwin? I'll lean just slightly towards Chris Godwin. I'm not crazy about any of them really, but I think Chris Godwin out of that group will probably get the most points. Malik Davis or Zach Moss? I like Zach Moss actually. Cam Akers or Jerick McKinnon? I'd go with Cam Akers this week in your RB2 situation. Thank you so much for sharing our channel. We appreciate you guys letting others know about Butt Fumble Sports, helping us grow one viewer at a time. LaBeef 1992 asks, Geno or Teddy Bridgewater? I actually like Teddy Bridgewater. I think he knows how to come into this kind of situation. He's got the talent around him. I could see Teddy Bridgewater actually having a pretty good game. Yeah, no Tony Pollard tonight, no Derrick Henry tonight. Fantasy owners, make sure you know who's going to be in lineups this week, whether it's injuries or teams just simply resting players. You want to make sure that you have a lineup of active guys who, if nothing else, you're going to put up points. You don't want to have any zeros in your lineup. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports. Cameron Conway 32 asks, Dak Prescott or Joe Burrow? So I actually think Joe Burrow is going to have a good game. I think Dak Prescott's going to have a great game. So I would go with Dak Prescott going up against the Tennessee Titans passing defense. They're terrible against the pass. That said, Buffalo Bills going up against Joe Burrow. He might get a couple touchdowns and yards, but I definitely like Dak Prescott more for tonight's game. Adam Lungberg asks, Josh Jacobs, Zeke, or Tyreek Hill? On that one, I love Tyreek Hill, and then I like Zeke slightly more than Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs now has a backup at quarterback and a 49ers run defense that'll be primed to take him away. I think Josh Jacobs is a sit this week. I know he's been the number one running back in fantasy this year, but it's the worst time for him. If you're a fantasy owner, look for other options. Josh Jacobs, I could see him getting under 60 rushing yards this week and no rushing touchdowns. Could be a really bad week for him. I do not think Tony Pollard will end up playing. I think they're going to sit him. Make sure you know. Okay, I need big help. Who to start? Tom Brady, Purdy, or Mike White? Okay, on that one, I'm going to go with Brock Purdy. So interestingly enough, since week 14, Brock Purdy has a 121 quarterback rating. That's the highest of anyone in the NFL, better than Trevor Lawrence, better than Kirk Cousins. Brock Purdy has been outstanding this year, so I would go with Brock Purdy. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Doughboy asks Dak or Trevor Lawrence. I would definitely go with Dak Prescott. He's the better play this week. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Our first of the evening, actually. It'll be about 2 Dallas Cowboys and which will have more fantasy points. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Dallas defense or Jacksonville defense? I like the Dallas defense tonight. I think this could be a really good game for Dallas in a number of ways. I don't want to say a get-right game because they're coming off a win, but it's a way that they can pad a lot of stats, have a great game, get in the right mindset going towards the playoffs. So I think Dallas on the offensive and defensive side of the ball is going to have a great game. Whether they cover is a different story. Right now, this year in 2022, I'm forgetting the year at the moment, in 2022, teams that have a road underdog, sorry, a road favorite that is a double-digit favorite is 0-5 this year. Let me repeat that one more time since I butchered that so much. A road favorite of 2 touchdowns or more is 0-5 this year. Really interesting because right now the Tennessee Titans, 2 touchdown underdogs. Curious to know what you guys think. We'll probably get to that later in a poll, whether you guys think that's a good play or not. Okay, Mark Andrews or Tyler Higbee. Love Tyler Higbee this week. He's not only playing really well with Baker Mayfield in the lineup, but he's getting touchdowns again. So love Higbee. Think he's a great play for this week. Okay, Algier or Zay Jones. I would go with Algier. I think he's the better play in your flex. Dallas defense or Giants defense. 2 teams in similar situations. I like Dallas slightly more. 1, short rest. 2, guy they just signed a quarterback 8 days ago for the Titans is playing quarterback. Where if you're the Giants, I know you're playing against the Colts, but they're going to run the ball a lot. I don't think the Colts are nearly in the same position the Titans are. I think the Titans are giving this game away, and I think that's going to be a cleanup for the Dallas Cowboys defense. So I really like the Dallas defense if you're playing in fantasy. Dak Prescott or Justin Fields? That's a really interesting one. On that one, I'm actually going to lean maybe slightly towards Justin Fields. He could have a massive day on the ground going up against the Detroit Lions. But that said, Dak Prescott's going to have a good game. Both are going to do well. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Gilbert asks, Russell Wilson or Sam Darnold? Man, crazy options that you have there. I definitely like Sam Darnold more of the 2. Zeke or Joe Mixon this week? I would go with Zeke. He's good for an anytime touchdown. That's been a consistent play. Sit or start Burks? Definitely sit Burks. I don't trust anything about this Tennessee Titans offense, especially their passing game. Okay, would you bench Adams due to the Carr-Stidham situation? Starting options are Kirk, Dillon, Swift, and Jamal Williams. Absolutely. I don't like Davante Adams anymore. I can't trust what I'm getting from the Las Vegas Raiders offense. For that reason, I really like DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams this week going up against that Chicago Bears run defense that's one of the worst in the league. So for that reason alone, I like those 2 players to begin with. And now you're giving me a reason to not like Davante Adams. I don't like Davante Adams anymore. I'd sit him. Travis asks, pick one, Jacobs, Haskins, or Dobbins. I would go with Dobbins. Minshew or Trevor Lawrence? On that one, I will go with Trevor Lawrence. I think it's actually going to be pretty close, similar point values, but I would lean just slightly towards Trevor Lawrence. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. And once we hit 5,000 likes, we will do a quick poll about 2 Dallas Cowboys playing tonight. Which one will have more fantasy points? Danny Dimes or Gardner Minshew? That's a good one. I'm going to lean just slightly towards Danny Dimes on that one, simply because I also think you could get opportunities on the ground with his running game. Knox or Hill at the tight end position? Ooh, another tough one. I'll go with Taysom Hill. He's been hot of late, especially because of how the Saints are using him even more. I think they're going to lean in that direction, so I like Taysom Hill. Debo or Haskins? Well, I don't think Debo's going to be back. I think they're kind of teasing you by having him back at practice, but I don't think Debo's actually going to be on the field this week, so I think that makes up your mind for you. Emily, love answering your question. Appreciate the support. Make sure all of you are following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Jacob asks, Zeke or Mixon? I would prefer Zeke just because I feel like you'll get the anytime touchdown. And with no Tony Pollard, more opportunities for Zeke potentially. Fields or Dak? As I mentioned earlier, this is a tough one for me. Think both have really good games. I'll lean just slightly towards Fields because what he's going to do on the ground against the Lions, I think he's going to have a number of yards on the ground, and I think passing game could get him some points too. So I'll lean just slightly more towards Fields over Dak. Okay, Lawrence, Herbert, or Goff? I'd go Jared Goff this week. Monster week coming for Jared Goff against the Chicago Bears. Ingram or George Kittle? That's a tough question simply because I like both of them a lot this week. To me, they're both the start. If you have both of them, first of all, well done at your tight end position. Second of all, I would go with George Kittle. His production of late with Brock Purdy is such where you have to go with George Kittle. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Jacob Wolf asks Pittman or Dotson. I'll lean just slightly towards Dotson. Really don't like what I'm seeing from the Colts offense right now, so I'll lean towards Dotson. I know it means I'm trusting Carson Wentz, but we have seen in the early part of the season, Dotson had decent chemistry with Wentz, at least for a week or two. Appreciate all of you joining us for this Thursday Night Football pregame show. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we will do a quick poll around 2 fantasy plays tonight. Which Cowboy will get more fantasy points? You'll want to know for that poll question to happen. Hit that like button. A.J. Dillon or Najee Harris? I'll lean slightly towards A.J. Dillon. I think Najee Harris is a borderline flex play for me. Simply because that Ravens run defense is pretty good. I think they'll rely heavily on Najee. I just don't know if he'll get the production. He might get you a touchdown. That's the only reason. I feel like both are good for a touchdown. Daddy Moose 3. I've got Dak and Zeke. Opponent has Schultz. Should I play Dak to block Schultz TDs or play Goff? I would play Goff. I actually think Goff is the better play. So I would go with Goff and don't worry about Schultz. One thing I would recommend to all of you guys who are in a fantasy football championship, don't try and outthink yourself. Get the most points that you can. Don't try and block your opponent or do crazy things. You'll end up regretting it in an off season if you lose. Don't try and outsmart yourself. Just put in a lineup that gets you the most possible points and go win your matchup. Alvin Kamara or Tyler Algier? I would go with Algier, Prodigy 412. I would go with Tyler Algier. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. One more piece of advice that I'll give about your fantasy football matchups this week. If you're feeling a little uneasy and you're going to get a championship opportunity on the line that comes with maybe some money, maybe you should do a hedge. Maybe look for some player prop bets. I know this sounds bizarre and some of you may not like it, but look at some of the players that are on your opponent's lineup or the players that are on yours and bet player prop bets that go against what could happen. Either you'll win your league and you'll cash that money, or you'll win your player prop bets and you'll cash that money. Either way, you're going to come home with some money. Corey James 23 asks, Haskins or Bam Knight? I love Zonovan Bam Knight this week. He's one of my favorite running backs, in a not, marquee brand name. Bam Knight could be a really good play this week against the Seahawks. Love him. Dak Prescott or Josh Allen? I would go with Dak Prescott this week. Damian Skyberg, loyal follower, appreciate your support. I would go with Dak Prescott tonight. He's got the better matchup. I think Dak gets you more points. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll. It's around 2 Dallas Cowboys in which we'll get more fantasy points. Mike Williams or Jahan Dotson? You got to go Mike Williams. No doubter on that, Mike Williams. Jerry Jeudy or Hodgins? Man, I'm fading everything about the Denver Broncos right now. I don't like Russell Wilson. I don't like their coaching situation. I don't like how their receivers are handling Russell Wilson. They seem to be pouting or to be showing their frustration on the field quite a bit. We're seeing infighting with the offensive line. For so many reasons, I don't like the Denver Broncos. I'm fading them completely. We're seeing the New York Giants play a little bit better in the passing game. Hodgins has been a part of that. For that reason, I would go with Hodgins, Alyssa's husband. Hodgins would be the play for me. Damian Skyberg, thank you so much for your support. Want to make sure you heard my answer earlier. I would go with Dak Prescott tonight in that big matchup of quarterbacks. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll, so make sure you're hitting that like button. Dak Prescott or Justin Fields? I would go with Justin Fields. I think he's the better play this week. Justin Fields just barely. Start 2, Diggs, Hoskins, Godwin, or Metcalf? I would go with Stephon Diggs, and I would go with Chris Godwin. Stephon Diggs and Chris Godwin. Is Fournette a good decision? I don't have a problem with him like I would in past weeks. I actually think he could have a better game this week. But that said, I still feel like there might be better options out there. Zonovan Bam Knight being one of them. Dog FC1, Montgomery, Cam Akers, or Pacheco, pick 2. So I've been going with Pacheco a lot in the past few weeks. This week won't be one of them. Really like Cam Akers this week. Really like David Montgomery. They have favorable matchups, so for that reason, Dog FC1, I'd go David Montgomery and I'd go Cam Akers as the two running backs that you asked about. Those would be the two I'd go with. Logan asks, pick three, D-Hop, Ramondre Stevenson, Devontae Smith, Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, or D-Hop. So if I'm picking three, I would go with Ramondre Stevenson. I would go with Devontae Smith, and I would go just barely sports on Schultz or Goddard. That's a tough one for me. The New Orleans Saints are pretty good against tight ends in fantasy, so for that reason, I like Schultz more tonight against the Titans. I'll lean towards Schultz just barely, just because of the matchup. Justin Fields or Joe Burrow. I would go with Justin Fields. Joe Burrow has the tougher matchup going up against the Buffalo Bills. Fields has a great matchup against the Lions. Could get a lot of yards, not just in the passing game, but in the running game. Okay, championship, pick two, Jacobs, Akers, or Algier. Believe it or not, I'm sitting Josh Jacobs this week. I don't like the garbage mess, dumpster fire that is the Las Vegas Raiders right now. I'm not touching their offense with no Derek Carr under center. I'm avoiding Josh Jacobs. I like Cam Akers and I like Tyler Algier anyways. I'll double down on that and I'll sit Josh Jacobs. Hodgins, Olave, or Slayton. Okay, for this one, I'll lean just slightly towards Olave, simply because I think he's got a greater opportunity. The other one I'm considering is Hodgins. I don't like Slayton only because he'll probably get paired up with Stephon Gilmore. We saw on Monday Night Football how Mike Williams struggled with Stephon Gilmore on him. He's still a lockdown corner at times, so I don't like Slayton as much as I would if Gilmore wasn't on him. For that reason, I'll probably go Olave 1 and Hodges 2. Wentz or Smith? Wow. I'm not touching Carson Wentz. I'll tell you that much. I'm not doing anything with Wentz. I know Geno Smith has a terrible matchup against the New York Jets, but you could not give me money to take Carson Wentz. I'm just not doing it. I'm having anxiety choosing Dak or Lawrence. Please help a brother out. No issue. We got you, Philly Goose. I would go with Dak Prescott tonight. I think Dak Prescott's got the more favorable matchup, and I don't think the Tennessee Titans have anything to play for. And they were a good confidence boosting game. For that reason, I really like Dak Prescott. Week 18, so make sure you're checking your lineup. You don't want to have any zeros in there. Goddard or Andrews, Bullet game. One of my love the over in the Vikings Green Bay game this weekend. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I answered your question a moment ago about Hodgins, Olave, and Slayton. I would go with Olave. Answering that question one more time, Hodgins, Olave, or Slayton, I would go with Olave. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports and hit that like button. Once we hit 5,000 likes, we'll do that first quick poll of the evening. Life Ninja asks, Ezekiel Elliott or a Lamb to score a first touchdown or an anytime touchdown? Well, I actually like both of them to score an anytime touchdown. I feel like if you got to go with anybody at Zeke on a first touchdown. That said, I usually don't play a first touchdown because I always feel like it's someone bizarre. It's like a fullback or it's a third tight end or something like that. It's just someone off the board for me. But when it comes to an anytime touchdown, Ezekiel Elliott is one of my favorite plays of the night. If we could throw up that player prop bet, I love Ezekiel Elliott anytime touchdown. Combining that in a parlay with a Dallas Cowboys win, that gets you to almost, minus 150, minus 155 on that. I really think that's a strong play. But I do like CeeDee Lamb on an anytime touchdown as well. Okay, question Lone Star 52. Kirk Cousins or Jared Goff? I would go with Jared Goff. I think he's the better play. You cut out Goddard or Andrews. Yeah, forgive me for cutting out. We might have some internet issues at times. If I do that, just make sure that you hit me up and I'll answer your question again. Just make sure Lamar Jackson is playing. If Lamar Jackson plays, I like Mark Andrews. If Lamar Jackson isn't playing, I would go with Goddard. So for me, you're kind of playing it close to the vest a little bit. You're kind of watching what the reports are going to be. I would go with Mark Andrews if Lamar Jackson's healthy. Maher, Gano, or Crosby, I would go with Maher tonight. Goddard, Kmet, or Waller. Brody, I would go with Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet would be the play for me. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Let's get up to 5,000 likes so we can do that first quick poll of the evening. Choose two. Cam Akers, Sanders, Brian Robinson, or Jahan Dotson. So on this one, if I'm choosing two, I really like Cam Akers and I like Brian Robinson, so those would be the two for me. Schultz or Waller, Avery Crawford, I would definitely go with Dalton Schultz tonight. I'm not touching that Raiders offense even if you paid me to. McKinnon or Kenneth Walker III, both don't have good matchups. Kind of avoiding both of them. That said, I'd probably lean slightly towards McKinnon, maybe just slightly, but don't really like either one. Appreciate the support you guys show us. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. I'm going to answer one question from YouTube. I appreciate all of you guys who are watching on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. After that, we'll do our first quick poll because we've hit 5,000 likes. The question from YouTube, full PPR flex pick 2, Zeke, Kenneth Walker III, or Jerry Jeudy. Well, I'm not touching Jerry Jeudy or the Denver offense, no matter what you ask or want me to pick in its place. I'll go with Zeke and Kenneth Walker III. So answering that question from YouTube, Zeke and Kenneth Walker III would be the two running backs I'd go with. Now that we've hit 5,000 likes, let's do that first quick poll question of the evening. Make sure you hear the question before we answer. We'll throw it up. Smiley face, Ezekiel Elliott, crying face, CeeDee Lamb. Which Dallas Cowboys player will have more fantasy points tonight? Smiling face, Ezekiel Elliott, crying face, CeeDee Lamb. We'll do our first quick poll of the evening. One more time. Which Cowboys player will have more fantasy points this evening? Ezekiel Elliott, smiling face, CeeDee Lamb, crying face. Here's our first quick poll of the evening. And let us know what you guys think. Smiling face, Ezekiel Elliott, crying face, CeeDee Lamb. Let us know what you guys think. Which Cowboys player will have more fantasy points tonight? Smiling face, Zeke Elliott, crying face, CeeDee Lamb. Let us know what you guys think. We'll get back to answering your fantasy questions in just 1 minute. Doing a quick poll because we hit 5,000 likes. Which Cowboys player will have more fantasy points this evening? Smiling face, Ezekiel Elliott, crying face, CeeDee Lamb. Let us know what you guys think. Appreciate all of you following us. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button at Butt Fumble Sports. Which Cowboys player will have more fantasy points tonight? Smiling face, Zeke Elliott, crying face, CeeDee Lamb. Doing our first quick poll of the evening because we hit 5,000 likes. There's my cowboy hat. Thank you so much. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports. Coming to the end of this quick poll, and you guys have CeeDee Lamb getting more fantasy points tonight. I agree with you. So ESPN projects in non-PPR leagues that Zeke will get 13.8 points, Lamb will get 10.7. I don't agree with the projections. I really like CeeDee Lamb to get more points tonight. The Tennessee Titans defense is 32nd in fantasy against wide receivers, but they're second in fantasy against running backs. The trend suggests CeeDee Lamb will have the bigger night. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports. Hit that like button, and of course, hit that share button. Let others know that we're talking sports, fantasy football, and of course, gambling. If you've got game pick questions, total play questions, player prop bet questions, we're here for all of it. Alec, appreciate your support on YouTube. To all those watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing. Okay, let's get to your questions again. Richie James or Michael Pittman? Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going to lean just slightly towards Pittman just because I think there are more opportunities for him to get points, but I'm not really crazy about either one. Adams or London in the ship? Wow, brutal question. I really don't like either one of them. I'll lean slightly towards Davante Adams, but I'm doing something I really don't like to do, and I'm kind of chasing the brand name rather than a trend I like. Andrews and Pacheco. For Cam Akers, I have Higbee. Yes, I would absolutely do that. Dog FC1, I would definitely do that. Do you believe the Bucs deserve to be a playoff team? If they win this week, they do. I mean, they only have to beat... I don't have a problem with teams that make the playoffs and have a sub 500 record. You know, it's how the division system works. Thoughts on the Tua situation? I have always thought Tua Tagovailoa is incredibly talented, accurate, but he is fragile. I know there are a lot of Tua defenders out there, but simply put, he's a fragile quarterback. I expect him to get hurt a lot in his career. This isn't like Drew Brees. This is different. This guy has a history of getting hurt, not just once, but many times. I don't think Tua is going to last too many years in this league. He might have put up big stats while he's in the league, but overall, I think the Miami Dolphins are in this kind of mirage situation. Right as they get great production from him, I think he's going to get hurt. I think it's going to be a routine thing year over year. Pick one, Jamal Williams or Cam Akers. I really like both of them. I'll lean just slightly towards Jamal Williams, but I really like both of them. Goddard or Schultz. I'll lean towards Schultz. Goddard has actually a tough matchup with the Saints, so I'll go with Dalton Schultz. Patterson or Hill in the flex. Cordero Patterson's actually a good play this week, so I would go with him. Yeah, I could see CeeDee Lamb having a 20-point game as well. We did that quick poll a moment ago. Which Cowboy was going to have more fantasy points, Ezekiel Elliott or CeeDee Lamb? You thought it was going to be CeeDee Lamb. I tended to agree with you. I thought that was a good pick. Davante Adams or Hopkins? I would go with Davante Adams. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. We've been going for about a half hour. We'll be going for about an hour more as we get our money gun out there. Appreciate all of you joining us. If you want us to do another quick poll, make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 10,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. To tease this one will be about Dak Prescott and a player prop bet around Dak Prescott. Hit that like button if you want to do that quick poll. Once we get up to 10,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll around a Dak Prescott player prop bet for tonight. Foreman or Algier? Algier has the more favorable matchup, so I'll lean just slightly towards Tyler Algier, Clint Watson. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Evans, D-Hop, or Watson? I would go with Christian Watson. Just make sure he's healthy. If not, Mike Evans would be the second play, but I would prefer Christian Watson. Once we hit 10,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll, so make sure you're hitting that like button. Nick Chubb or Akers? I want to make sure. So I'm going to go with Cam Akers. I actually prefer Cam Akers. Dak Prescott or Joe Burrow? I'm going to go with Dak Prescott tonight. I think he's the better play. Dak Prescott tonight. Do you think Miami should pursue in helping the line to protect Tua? Should Tua try to... I think Miami needs to do everything possible to protect Tua Tagovailoa. They've put a lot of offensive weapons around him. That's great. But if he can't stay upright and stay off the ground, it seems like every time this guy hits his head on the ground, he will get concussed. So my concern is they need to have offensive line support. They won't have it this year. I don't think Miami's going to go that far in the playoffs for just that reason, but they need to build in the draft or in the offseason and get him some help. Do what Joe Burrow, what the Cincinnati Bengals did for Joe Burrow. Just add as many offensive linemen as you can and hope the guy stays healthy and go on a playoff run. Chris Godwin or Mark Andrews. I'll go with Chris Godwin just because I feel more secure that Tom Brady throwing him the ball as opposed to Mark Andrews. Is Lamar Jackson throwing him the ball? I don't know. I don't know yet. You won't know up until Godwin's opportunity to play. So I'll go with Godwin. Andrews or Knox, similar situation. For all those who have Mark Andrews, you got to be wary because that's going to be on Sunday Night Football. So make sure you're monitoring the status of Lamar Jackson throughout the week. If you hear about it early and Lamar Jackson is playing, then I do like Mark Andrews. But if he's not going to play or it's going to be right up until a game time decision, you can't go with him. You just can't trust him. McKenzie or Pittman. I mean, Isaiah McKenzie is kind of a crapshoot player. Like he's a 1-2 risky play. You know, maybe he gets a touchdown, maybe he gets a big play. But Michael Pittman is at least going to have the ball thrown to him 5-6 times. Just more opportunities for Pittman to get you points. James Cook or DeAndre Swift. This is a no-brainer for me. I love DeAndre Swift this week. It's definitely DeAndre Swift. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 10,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. This quick poll will be about Dak Prescott and a player prop bet. Choose one: Deontay Johnson, Zay Jones, Cooks, Dobbs, or Hodgins. If I'm picking just one, I'll go with Deontay Johnson. McKinnon or Ramondre Stevenson. I would go with Ramondre Stevenson this week. I'd go Ramondre Stevenson. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Joe Mixon or Alvin Kamara, Foreman, Patterson, pick two. The two I would go with are Patterson and Foreman. I would go with Patterson and Foreman out of that 4 group. Joe, one more time, that's Foreman and Patterson would be the two for me. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. And once we hit 10,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Cam Akers a better flex option than Devontae Adams? Yes, believe it or not, I love the matchup he has, and I really don't like the situation in Las Vegas. Kenneth Walker III or Keenan Allen? No-brainer for me. I'm going Keenan Allen. No-brainer. You see when Keenan Allen's healthy, Justin Herbert feeds him the ball at least 10 times a game, very consistently being targeted. Love Keenan Allen's production. David Njoku, Freiermuth, or Evan Ingram, pick one. I would go with Evan Ingram. He's been hot of late. Good matchup against the Tennessee Titans. Against the Houston Texans, rather. I like Evan Ingram out of that group. Gio, that's Evan Ingram for me. Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon. I'm going to lean towards Aaron Jones. Just make sure he's healthy. I know A.J. Dillon could get opportunities in the red zone, but Aaron Jones just gets more opportunities between the 20s and in the red zone. So for that reason, I'd go Aaron Jones. The birthday box asks Jalen Waddle or Michael Pittman. Easy one for me, birthday box. It's Jalen Waddle, no-brainer. No reason to be worried about Teddy Bridgewater throwing him the ball. I think Bridgewater actually is going to be a great substitutes teacher in this situation. I really like Jalen Waddle this week against a Patriots defense that you see can get torched. Is Zeke Elliott a good flex option tonight? Absolutely. Like Zeke Elliott, think he's going to get a touchdown tonight. Mike Evans or Travis Etienne. So I would definitely go with Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne's a really good play this week. Jahan Dotson or Hollywood Brown. I would go with Jahan Dotson. Once we hit 10,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Brian Robinson, Alvin Kamara, or Jones. I don't know which Jones you're referring to. Make sure you let me know which Jones you're talking about. I do like Brian Robinson a lot this week. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Is CeeDee Lamb anytime touchdown a good play tonight? I like his over receiving yards more, but that said, I do have an anytime touchdown bet of my own, so yes, I'm at least endorsing that enough to say I did it. I don't know if you should do it, but I did it. I would definitely like his over receiving yards play, though. Over receiving yards for CeeDee Lamb, I think, is one of the better prop bets of the night. Justin Fields or Jared Goff. These two are squaring off in Detroit. Think both are going to have really big games. I'll lean just slightly towards Jared Goff. Jared Goff's stats at home are some of the best in the NFL, so I really like Jared Goff against a terrible Chicago defense. Dawson Knox, Conklin, or Johnson. The We're almost to 10,000 likes. Once we hit it, we'll do another quick poll. So make sure you're hitting that like button. And of course, share the channel with others. Let others know that we're talking fantasy football and gambling right up until kickoff of the Thursday night football game. So hit that share button. Let your friends know, coworkers, others that love talking sports. Let them know that Butt Fumble Sports is here for them. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're 37.5 passing yards tonight. One more time, over or under 237.5 passing yards for Dak Prescott. Over, smiley face, under, crying face. Let us know what you guys think in this quick poll. Will Dak Prescott have over or under 237.5 passing yards? Smiley face over, crying face under. To let you know how Vegas sees this one, over is minus 125, under is minus 105. Make sure you're voting on this quick poll question now that we've hit 10,000 likes. Will Dak Prescott have over or under 237.5 passing yards? Over is minus 125. That would be the smiley face. Under is minus 105. That would be the crying face. Let us know what you guys think as we do this quick poll question. We'll get back to answering your fantasy questions in just 1 minute, but doing this quick poll question around a player prop bet that I really like tonight. Curious to know what you guys think before I give away my pick. Let me know what you think. Will Dak Prescott have over or under 237.5 passing yards? Over, smiley face, under, crying face. We're coming to the end of this poll. This was a no-doubter for you guys, and I feel the same way. Over has it. I really like the over in this one as well. The Titans defense allows an average of 280 pass yards per game, 31st in the NFL. No Tony Pollard tonight. I actually just mean that I just think that means Dak's throwing it more down the field. So I like the opportunity for Dak to have a big passing game tonight, pad some of his stats, build some confidence going towards the playoffs. So I really like Dak Prescott over 237.5 passing yards tonight. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports and hit that like button. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll question. This one will be about the betting for this game. Just to tease that, this one, next poll question, will be about a betting component of this game. So make sure you're hitting that like button, getting us up to 15,000 likes. Roberto asks, start 3, Waddle, Evans, Williams, D-Hop in a full PPR. Easy one for me, Roberto. I would go with Waddle, Evans, and Williams. I would sit DeAndre Hopkins. I would start Evans, Williams, and Waddle. Dalton Schultz or Knox this week. I'd lean just slightly towards Dalton Schultz tonight. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports and hitting that like button as many times as you can. Algier or Juju at the flex in a PPR. I would go with Algier. I think Algier's the better player. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports. Zeke or Foreman, I would go with Zeke Elliott tonight. Dalton Schultz or Evan Ingram, that's a tough one. I lean just slightly towards Evan Ingram, just slightly, only because Schultz isn't as good on the road as he is at home, so I like Evan Ingram a little bit more. Pacheco or Najee Harris, I'll lean just slightly towards Pacheco. Really don't like either one, but I'll lean slightly towards Pacheco. Zonovan Knight or Foreman with Henry out. I love Zonovan Knight this week. I actually think he's one of the better plays this week. Think he could have a really big week. Love Zonovan Knight. Will Geno produce against the Jets? I don't think so. I think he's going to have a tough time. I don't know if Tyler Lockett's going to be back, but I know that Sauce Gardner is going to be all over DK Metcalf. That's a great matchup this week, but I think Geno could have a tough time against the Jets. Pick 2, Zeke Elliott, Jacobs, or Algier. Easy one for me. I'm sitting Josh Jacobs this week. I have no faith in the Las Vegas Raiders and what Josh McDaniels is now doing with Jarrett Stidham now at quarterback. So I like Zeke Elliott and Algier. I know Josh Jacobs has been good throughout the fantasy season, but you can't rely on him right now with both of them. All right, has 3 touchdowns. He's been red hot. So I really like Higbee this week. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. We're about halfway through our show on TikTok Live and on YouTube. And we've been on for about 45 minutes to 50 minutes more. So make sure you're hitting that like button so we can do more poll questions. And of course, keep sharing your questions in the chat. We'll answer all. TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Rookie Fever, just to answer that question one more time in case you missed it, I have Dak Prescott and I have Jared Goff. Those would be the 2 players I'd go with out of that group. Dak Prescott and Jared Goff, Rookie Fever. Hayden Hurst or Gerald Everett. Hayden Hurst has been banged up of late. I don't know if I really trust his health status, so I'll go with Gerald Everett, Henry. Cam Akers or Joe Mixon. I'm going with Cam Akers. I prefer Cam Akers, Victor. Mike Williams, Pittman, Slayton to start. I'd go with Mike Williams. Hammy, I would go with Mike Williams. Zeke Elliott or Dotson. Jordan, I would go with Zeke Elliott. Travis asks Zach Moss or Cordero Patterson. I'd lean just slightly towards Cordero Patterson. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. Joe asks Mixon, Kamara, Foreman, or Moss. Pick 3. John, I would go with Moss. I would go with Foreman. And I'll lean just slightly towards Mixon, John. So that's Mixon, Foreman, and Moss. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. And, of course, hit the like button. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Okay, Joseph, sorry it froze. Knox, Conklin, or Johnson. So, Joseph, I would go with Tyler Conklin. Tyler Conklin, Joseph, would be the play for me. One more time, that's Tyler Conklin. Jacob Wolf asks Romeo Doubs or Pittman if Watson is out. It would be Romeo Doubs. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. Mixon or McKinnon. I'll lean just slightly towards Joe Mixon. Freiermuth, Knox, or Schultz. I'll go with Schultz. I'll go with Dalton Schultz out of that tight end trio. Dalton Schultz or Algier. I'll go with Tyler Algier. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports and hitting that like button. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. And if you're watching on YouTube, first of all, thank you for the support. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Everyone, check out our YouTube page at Fumble Sports. Mike Evans, DeAndre Swift, or Watson. I would definitely go with DeAndre Swift. Can we trust Jared Goff this weekend? 100% we can. He's playing a bad Bears defense, and he's doing it at home. He has great numbers at home. I really like Jared Goff this week. Appreciate all of you guys supporting us. make sure you're sharing Butt Fumble Sports with others, letting others know that there's this great place for fantasy football conversation as well as gambling conversation, so hit that share button. Dak Prescott or Justin Herbert? That's a tough one for me. I really like Dak Prescott tonight, so I probably lean in that direction, but either way, I think you're going to do well. I'm going to lean just slightly, though, towards Dak Prescott, Mike. Pick 3, St. Brown, Hill, Chase, Jefferson. I have a good problem, no doubt. You have a great problem, some awesome players that you have right now in your lineup. Okay, here are the 3 for me. I'm going St. Brown, I'm going Tyreek Hill, and I'm going Justin Jefferson. Believe it or not, the one I would probably sit is Jamar Chase. I can't sit Tyreek Hill. I think he's going to have a monster game and just torture the Patriots. I think St. Brown's going to have a great game against the Bears. And I think Justin Jefferson is a must-start at this point. Jamar Chase somehow is the odd man out for me. Shane asks, A.J. Dillon or David Montgomery? No doubt about it, it's David Montgomery. David Montgomery is the play. Fournette or Singletary? Ooh, that's a good question. I'll lean just slightly towards Fournette. Just barely. I'm going to lean towards Fournette. That's answering Eric Buckley's question. I would go with Fournette. David asks, Waller, Chark, Williams, Boyd, Moore, or Foreman at the flex? I'll go with Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is my favorite play, David. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. This one will be around which team is going to cover tonight's game. So make sure you're hitting that like button. We're doing player prop bets, game picks, total plays, and of course answering your fantasy questions. So make sure you're hitting that like button. And of course, hit the share button. Let others know about Butt Fumble Sports. User 2976 asks, Moss, Mostert, or Khalil Herbert? Only because I don't know what Herbert's status is. I really want to go with Herbert, but I don't trust him. So I'll say Moss, but I wouldn't be surprised if Herbert could somehow have a good game. Over under Dak passing and rushing yards? Well, I love Dak over passing yards. We mentioned that earlier as one of our poll questions and one of my favorite player prop bets of the night. I love Dak Prescott over 237.5 passing yards. As for his rushing yards, I could see that as well. Just him getting out of the pocket, taking a quick 7-10 yards where he can, sliding down. So I don't think it's a terrible play, especially without Tony Pollard in the lineup. But that said, I really like the passing yards more than the rushing yards. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Pick 1, Algier, Thielen, or Dortch. I'm going to go with Algier. Connor, I would go with Algier. My thoughts on Zeke Elliott tonight. Love him for an anytime touchdown. One of my favorite player prop bets of the night is Zeke Elliott anytime touchdown combined in a parlay with a Dallas Cowboys win. You'll get that at minus 155, minus 150. Pretty good play given how consistent Zeke has been in scoring touchdowns and the fact that I think everybody likes the Cowboys tonight. Zeke Elliott or Miles Sanders? I'll lean just slightly towards Miles Sanders. Mixon or McKinnon? I'm going to lean just slightly towards Joe Mixon. Start 2, Ayuk, Watson, Debo, or Juju. So I think Debo Samuel isn't going to play. I think that's kind of foolish hope to believe that the 49ers are going to risk his health in a game against the Raiders. I just don't see it. So I would go with Christian Watson, and I would go with Ayuk. Christian Watson and Ayuk. If I'm flexing one, then it's Juju. I don't like Juju's matchup this week, but it's you have to. Christian asks, Pacheco or Zonovan Knight? I love Zonovan Knight this week. I actually think he's a great play against the Seattle Seahawks run defense, which is just terrible. So I really like Zonovan Knight this week. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Jaguars defense or Giants defense? I'd lean towards the Giants defense just slightly. Does Dak Prescott play the whole game tonight? I think he won't. I think he'll probably play something like 3 quarters. I do think it's going to be a blowout, but I could see Cooper Rush getting in this game when they're up enough points. Allen, Lazard, or Pacheco? I'll lean towards Pacheco just slightly. Haskins or Mostert? Ben, I would go with Haskins. Schultz or Knox? I would go with Dalton Schultz tonight. DJ Chark, Sutton, or Dotson? I'll lean towards DJ Chark. DJ Chark would be the play for me. Hammy asks Akers, Foreman, and Moss to start. I would go with Cam Akers. Cam Akers. Yeah, Dalvin Cook's your other one. Dalvin Cook's a great play this week, but I like Cam Akers as well. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. And hit that share button, hit that like button. Once we get up to 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Make sure you're hitting that like button. No, I don't think Josh Jacobs will do better with a backup quarterback. I think it means the 49ers' run defense was going to be good anyways. Now they're just queuing off of Jacobs that much more. I think it's bad for fantasy owners who have Josh Jacobs. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports. Keep hitting that like button. Let's get up to 15,000 likes. Let's do that next quick poll. Rumors of Justin Fields getting time managed this Sunday. Is this true? I hope not for fantasy owners, simply because he's got a great matchup against the Detroit Lions defense. Could have put up a lot of points on the ground and through the air. So I would feel bad for fantasy owners. But this is a reason you got to be tuning in with us. Make sure you're following us. We're going to be doing a lot of TikTok lives, a lot of YouTube sessions, answering your fantasy questions, going through who's active, who's inactive, who could get pulled early, who's got great matchups, and who should you avoid. So make sure you're following and subscribing. That way you know every time we go live, and I can answer your question based off of the latest information. Christian Kirk or Christian Watson. I'll lean just slightly towards Christian Watson. He actually has the better matchup against that Vikings secondary. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Let's get up to 15,000 likes so we can do another quick poll. Cool guys, I would go with Watson. Cool guys, I'd go Watson. Mike White or Aaron Rodgers. Big Jeff, I would definitely go with Aaron Rodgers. He's got the better matchup. I really like Aaron Rodgers this week. He's a start for me. Thanks, L Train. Appreciate you joining the conversation. Juju Smith-Schuster or Christian Kirk. Tyler Miller, I would go with Christian Kirk. Make sure you're following us and hitting that like button at Butt Fumble Sports. Let's get up to 15,000 likes so we can do another quick poll. Pick 3, please. Stevenson, Montgomery, Kamara, or Etienne. Oh, you've got some great options this week. I would go with Stevenson, I would go with Montgomery, and I would go with Travis Etienne. That's Stevenson, Montgomery, and Etienne would be the 3 I would go with. CG. Athlete 556 asks Foreman, Zach Moss, or Haskins. I'll lean just slightly towards Deontay Foreman. Deontay Foreman for me, Athlete 556. Hit that like button. Let's get up to 15,000 likes so we can do another quick poll. This one will be about which team covers tonight. Alan Joshua 12 asks Njoku or Cole Kmet. I'll go with Cole Kmet. Obviously, those rumors about Justin Fields may impact that, but I like Cole Kmet if Justin Fields is a play. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports. Taysom Hill or Cole Kmet, I'd go Cole Kmet. Yo, am I crazy to bench Mark Andrews for Tyler Higbee? Not at all. I actually think Tyler Higbee is the better play. Ever since Baker Mayfield took over, Tyler Higbee's performed really well. I actually think Tyler Higbee's the better play. I don't think you're crazy. Etienne, White, Pacheco, or Montgomery. You got to go Travis Etienne this week. He's facing one of the worst run defenses that I can remember in the Houston Texans. You got to go with Etienne. Haskins or Mostert. Ben, I've answered this one before. Ben, you got to go with Haskins. Ben, it's Haskins. Austin asks Jeff Wilson Jr. or Zay Jones. Austin, I would go with Zay Jones. Getting closer to 15,000 likes. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 15,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Pick 2, Khalil Herbert, Mostert, James Cook, Haskins. Wow, not crazy about this group. The picking of the 2, I will go with Herbert and I'll go Haskins, but I'm not crazy about it. Dallas or Philadelphia team QB, I'd go Dallas. Josh Jacobs or David Montgomery. Believe it or not, I'd go David Montgomery. Josh Jacobs, I'm kind of fading him this week. I appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports. Going a little bit away from fantasy to answer this question. Rumors Carr goes to Colts. Doesn't it feel like we're destined to have Tom Brady in Las Vegas and Derek Carr in Indianapolis? I feel like that is something we're looking into our NFL future, and I absolutely believe both those things could happen. I feel like Josh McDaniels wants Tom Brady. I think the Colts are moving on from, obviously, not just Matt Ryan and Nick Foles, but Sam Ehlinger. I don't know what the Colts drafting situation might be, but I could easily see Derek Carr, another white boy on the QB carousel that is the Indianapolis Colts. Just Max asks, start three, Stevenson, Jones, Walker, Cam Akers, Pacheco, or Singletary. Just Max, I would go with Cam Akers, Stevenson, and Aaron Jones. Just make sure Aaron Jones is healthy. Does Jalen Hurts play this week? I don't think so. I don't know why the Philadelphia Eagles would risk him. I think you saw Gardner Minshew's more than capable as a substitute, starter at quarterback. So against a New Orleans Saints team, they want the win, they need the win. I still don't think you're going to risk Jalen Hurts. I don't know why you'd do that. Garrett Wilson or Devontae Smith. I'll lean just slightly towards Garrett Wilson. Just slightly. What do I think about Michael Carter? Not crazy about him. I think he could have a good week, but I really like Zonovan Knight more. I think Michael Carter is a good option at the flex if you're desperate, but I'm not crazy about him. I feel like there are better options out there. Dak Prescott or Trevor Lawrence. I'm going Dak Prescott tonight. I'm going big on him on player prop bets as well as in fantasy. I think he's going to have a good night. Make sure you're following us at But Fumble Sports. Hit that follow, 1,000 likes. We'll do another quick poll, so make sure you're hitting that like button. Pittman or Dotson. I'm going to go with Dotson. Dak Prescott or Joe Burrow. Ricky, I would go with Dak Prescott tonight. Deontay Johnson or Montgomery at the flex. I would go with Montgomery. David Montgomery would be the play for me. Almost to 15,000 likes. Make sure you're hitting that like button as many times as you can. Let's get up to 15,000 likes and do another quick poll. Have about a half hour left, maybe a little bit more of this show. So make sure you're sharing the channel with others and make sure you're following us. That way you know every time we go live, you'll get all your fantasy questions and gambling questions answered for NFL Week 17. Schultz or Freiermuth. I'd lean slightly towards Dalton Schultz tonight. Cam Akers or Walker. I'm going Cam Akers. We just hit 15,000 likes. Thank you so much for the support you guys show us. Unbelievable audience that we have. Unbelievable support. What a great community. We're going to do a quick poll question. This one is about who covers tonight's game. So here's the poll question as I'm going to put it. Do the Titans cover plus 14 tonight? Do the Tennessee Titans cover plus 14? Smiley face yes, crying face no. Do the Tennessee Titans cover 14 points tonight? We're going to do a quick poll starting now. Do the Tennessee Titans cover tonight? Smiley face yes, crying face no. Do the Tennessee Titans cover plus 14 tonight? Smiley face yes, crying face no. What do you guys think? Will the Tennessee Titans cover tonight? Plus 14 is the spread. Smiling face yes they cover. Crying face no they don't. Curious to know what you guys think. Will the Tennessee Titans cover tonight is our quick poll question. It's going off at plus 14. Smiley face yes, crying face no. Do the Tennessee Titans cover tonight's game? To give one stat on this, since 2003, double-digit road favorites are 50 and 71 against the spread. That's just 41%, and they're 0-5 this season. Don't know if that impacts your vote. Smiley face, the Titans cover. Crying face, they don't. It's plus 14. Smiley face yes, crying face no. Do the Titans cover plus 14 tonight? You guys think they're going to cover. Very interesting. That has been the trend this year. Like I mentioned, this situation, road team that's a favorite by 2 touchdowns, 0-5 this year. So interesting against the spread trend. I tend to lean that way as well. I certainly have Dallas on the money line, and something I would highly recommend, fold Dallas money line into a number of parlays this week. Even if it's only 1 or 2, 3 game parlays, it's a way of getting closer to plus money on other bets that you like. So Dallas on the money line is definitely something for parlay fans. That said, I could see the Titans covering plus, I would buy the 1.5, so plus 15.5. I really like that. This is a Mike Vrabel coach team. Do we really expect them to just have no fight in them? We've seen the Houston Texans have that kind of fight. Why don't I think the Tennessee Titans would be that way? Curious to know, but that was our quick poll question because we hit 15,000 likes. Once we hit 20,000 likes, we'll do another one. But for now, we'll get back to answering your fantasy questions. Athlete 556, Moss or Haskins? I would go with Moss. Phil asks Deontay Foreman or Ayuk at the flex. I would go Deontay Foreman. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Start one asks Michael, RB and the flex, Sanders, Foreman, Haskins, Moore, London, Sutton. Okay, the two I would start are Sanders, and I would start DJ Moore, believe it or not. I think DJ Moore is going to have a good game. Do you like Joe Burrow and Kittle this week? I love George Kittle with Brock Purdy. That is a match made in heaven. As for Joe Burrow, I think he has a good game. I would say like 2 touchdowns, maybe 240 passing yards. $29,000 followers on TikTok. We're inching ever closer to 30,000. Make sure you're one of them. Hit that follow button at Fumble Sports. Mike Evans or Christian Kirk? I'll lean towards Christian Kirk. Mike Evans just doesn't look engaged right now, isn't playing well. I like Christian Kirk. Deontay Foreman or Michael Pittman? I'm going Deontay Foreman. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 20,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. This next poll question will be about Dak Prescott. Just teasing this one. This next poll question is about Dak Prescott and a player prop bet involving Dak Prescott. We've already talked about his passing yards, so what could it be? Make sure you're following us and hit that like button. Once we hit 20,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll around Dak Prescott and a player prop bet that I like for that game. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. Chuba Hubbard or Jamal Williams? Love Jamal Williams this week. Jamal Williams is definitely the play for me. Trevor Lawrence or Dak Prescott? I'm leaning towards Dak Prescott. Devontae Smith or Garrett Wilson? I'm going with Garrett Wilson. I prefer him just slightly. Hodgins, Dotson with Wentz? I'll prefer Hodgins just slightly. Can't believe I'm saying it, but I really don't like Carson Wentz. Zach asks, pick 2, Etienne, Akers, Pacheco, or McKinnon. This week, I really like Etienne and I really like Cam Akers. Those would be the 2 for me. Make sure you're hitting that follow button at Fumble Sports. Fields or Goff? Am I crazy to play Goff? No, not at all. Jared Goff is the better play, Tom. Jared Goff is the better play. I think he's going to have a monster game. He's great at home. He has some of the best stats of anybody at home this year. I think Jared Goff is a must start. Flex, Deontay Johnson, Slayton, or Burks? Mike, I lean just slightly towards Deontay Johnson. If Gibson is out, do I start Brian Robinson or Akers? I would start Brian Robinson if Gibson is out. I might like Brian Robinson anyways. I think he could be a really good play this week. I understand Cam Akers is also a really good play, but either one's going to do well. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports and hit that like button as many times as you can. Once we hit 20,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. This one will be about a player prop bet around Dak Prescott. Don't want to miss that, so hit that like button. Travis asks, pick 2, Zeke, McKinnon, or Watson. I'm going Zeke, I'm going Zeke Elliott, and I'm going Christian Watson. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. DeAndre Swift or Mike Evans in a PPR? I'm going DeAndre Swift. Cam Akers or DJ Moore? I'll lean just slightly towards Cam Akers. I like both of them, but I'll go with Cam Akers. McKinnon or Keenan Allen? Devin, no-brainer for me. It's Keenan Allen. No-brainer, Keenan Allen. Ace God asks, pick 3, Pittman, Zonovan Knight, Christian Watson, Dotson, Algier, Najee Harris. Yeah, you confused me because you said Zay Knight, so at first I'm like, is it Zay Jones? But no. Okay, anyway, Ace God. The 3 I would go with are Bam Knight, Christian Watson, and Tyler Algier. Ace God one more time. That's Bam Knight, Christian Watson, and Tyler Algier would be the three I'd go with. Aaron Jones or McLaurin, I'd go Aaron Jones, just make sure he's healthy, but I'm not trusting Carson Wentz. Just because he's back in doesn't mean he's a start for me. Should I be worried about Austin Eckler or Ramondre Stevenson being limited? No, I think their plays, I think both of them are going to be a go this week. I'm not too worried about them. Pick two, Algier, Foreman, or Moss. The two I would go with are Algier and Foreman. I'd go with Algier and Foreman X Young. That's Algier and Foreman. Make sure you're following us at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And hit that like button. Once we hit 20,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Nick Folk or Graham Gano? Oof. I'll say Graham Gano. I don't trust the Patriots offense enough right now. I'll go with Gano. Chad asks Fields, Lawrence, or Kirk Cousins. I'll lean just slightly towards Justin Fields, only because he's going up against the Lions, and that's the best matchup of the three. DeAndre Swift or Josh Jacobs. This is an easy one for me. I really like DeAndre Swift this week against the Bears running defense, and I really don't like Josh Jacobs. Don't like what I'm seeing from the Las Vegas Raiders. If I can for 1 second just go off on a bit of a rant, I understand what the Las Vegas Raiders are doing right now. It is time to move on from Derek Carr. I think the obvious rumors are Tom Brady's going to go to Vegas after the offseason once he enters free agency, and I could see that happening with him pairing with Josh McDaniels. But the bigger story for me is the move that Mark Davis made to try to bring Davante Adams over to pair with Derek Carr. That move now looks like a mistake both for the Packers and for the Raiders. As for Derek Carr, he's not going to even be around the team now. He's away from the team, so he's not a distraction. I feel like he's destined to be an Indianapolis Colt, just the next throwaway white guy quarterback that the Colts think can lead them to the playoffs. I don't ultimately think that it'll be successful, but I certainly think that Derek Carr's time as a starting quarterback that you can rely on is kind of fading away. That said, if I'm Josh McDaniels, I know that the owner is backing me more than my quarterback. That makes me that's got to make me feel good going into the offseason that I'm able to quote Bill Parcells, buy the groceries that I want, because I feel like Mark Davis is giving Josh McDaniels the power in Vegas. I appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. What I will say, just to close that thought about the Las Vegas Raiders, I don't know if Davante Adams is going to leave, because if it is Tom Brady coming to Las Vegas, wouldn't Adams want to play with Brady? It wouldn't Brady want Adams? So I don't think the Raiders are necessarily going to trade him right away. I think there are a lot of weapons they would need to address the offensive line, but if they're going to bring in a Brady, or if they're going to try and find another quarterback in free agency or in the draft to replace Derek Carr, don't you want Davante Adams to pair him with? So I don't see Adams going anywhere. Make sure you're following us at ButtFumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at SportsFumble on Twitter. Once we hit 20,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Amari Cooper or Deontay Foreman? I'm going with Deontay Foreman. Hassan Haskins or Zach Moss? I'll lean just slightly towards Zach Moss. Watson, Haskins, or McKinnon? I'll go with Watson and McKinnon. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at ButtFumble Sports. Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence? I'll lean just slightly towards Justin Herbert, just slightly. Mike Evans or Jerry Jeudy? Don't like either one of them right now, but I'll lean just slightly towards Mike Evans because I think Russell Wilson is an absolute disaster, as are the Denver Broncos. Appreciate all of you joining us and making time to join us. Make sure you're sharing the channel with others. Let others know that ButtFumble Sports is here talking fantasy football, gambling, and of course, ranting about the NFL and all things sports. Mark Andrews or Evan Ingram? I would definitely go with Evan Ingram, Chase. That's Evan Ingram for me. Once we hit 20,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Prescott or Jared Goff? No brainer for me. I'm going Jared Goff there, Emmanuel. I'd go Jared Goff. And your question of Hawkinson or Goddard? I would go with TJ Hawkinson. So it's Goff and Hawkinson would be the two. If Watson doesn't play, is Romeo Doubs worth playing? Yes, I do. I think that's a good play because the slightly towards Goddard unless Lamar Jackson plays. If Lamar Jackson plays, I will like Mark Andrews, but I'm waiting on that. If you want my takes on Sunday morning, make sure you join us. We'll be going live really early that day, 10:30, and taking you all the way up until kickoff. So 10:30 Sunday morning, we'll be going live answering all of your fantasy and gambling questions. Make sure you're sharing us. Make sure you're subscribing. And of course, make sure you're following. That way you know every time we go live. Juju Smith-Schuster or Gabe Davis in the flex. I would go getting ready for their cars on the field for the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are sitting Derrick Henry. I expect the Titans to not put a lot of effort into this one, at least from an offensive standpoint. Joshua Dobbs will be the starting quarterback. As for the Dallas Cowboys, no Tony Pollard for the Cowboys. So if you're a fantasy owner with Tony Pollard, make sure you get him out of your lineup. You don't want that zero. So get Tony Pollard and Derrick Henry out of your fantasy lineup. Any player prop bets for tonight's game? Well, first of all, make sure you're and a half receiving yards. One more time, another player prop bet that I really like is CeeDee Lamb over 71 and a half receiving yards. I'm getting that at minus 125. Those are a few player prop bets that I really like for tonight's game. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports and hitting that like button. Once we hit 20,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. Josh Jacobs or McKinnon? I'm going McKinnon. I wouldn't touch Josh Jacobs this week. I have CeeDee Lamb as a player prop. The 49ers, Jared Stidham. I saw Jared Stidham play for the Patriots in a game against the Kansas City Chiefs where he should have played a lot better. I just don't like Stidham. I don't think he's talented enough. I think Josh McDaniels is making somewhat of a mistake. I understand why they're doing it. They're preserving Derek Carr to try and trade him in the offseason, and they don't want some serious injury. But that said, I just don't think you're going to get any production out of the Las Vegas Raiders offense. Christian Kirk or Zeke Elliott at the flex. I would go with Zeke Elliott. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Cowboys defense or 49ers defense? I would go with the Cowboys defense tonight. I would go with the Cowboys defense. Evan Ingram or Goddard? I would go with Evan Ingram on that one, user 99. That's Evan Ingram for me. Make sure you're hitting that like button. We just hit 20,000 likes because you guys are so incredible. Thank you so much for the support. Make sure you're sharing us too. Let others know about Fumble Sports. That said, we will do our poll question just because we hit 20,000 likes. This one has to do with Dak Prescott, and this is my last player prop bet that I'm going to give out of the night. So make sure you're involved in this poll question. Will Dak Prescott throw an interception tonight? Does Dak Prescott throw an interception tonight? Smiling face, yes. Crying face, no. Does Dak Prescott throw an interception tonight? Smiley face, yes. Crying face, no. Here's our quick poll question. Does Dak Prescott throw an interception tonight? Smiling face, yes. Crying face, no. Will Dak Prescott throw an interception tonight? Smiley face yes, crying face no. What do you guys think? Will Dak Prescott throw a pick tonight? Smiley face is the yes, crying face is the no. That's smiley face is yes, crying face no. Will Dak Prescott throw an interception tonight? This is a close race here in this poll question. Will Dak Prescott throw a pick tonight? Smiley face yes, crying face no. To give you a bit of a number on this one, 93% of the betting public has the over on this bet. They have Dak Prescott throwing a pick. As for the odds, Dak Prescott throwing one, I don't know. Will he tonight? Smiley face if Dak Prescott throws one. Crying face if you think he won't. Coming to the end of the poll question, and you guys think Dak Prescott will throw an interception tonight. I agree with you. I'm getting Dak Prescott will throw an interception. It's going off at minus 105, but I really like that one. Prescott has thrown an interception in 5 straight games, and he's thrown a pick in 7 of his last 8 games. I like Dak Prescott throwing an interception tonight. He's going to be throwing the ball a lot, so I like his over on touchdowns. I like his over on passing yards, and I also like his over on interceptions. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Do I like the 49ers defense this week? Yes, I do. What running back should I pick up? Both Derrick Henry and Pollard are out. Connor, tough situation. Let us know who's out there on your waiver wire. We'll let you know if it's worth picking up. Definitely consider Zach Moss. Zach Moss might be a really good play this week. Zach Moss might be out there in your league. Couple of players off the waiver wire watch to consider as well. Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert might be another one you want to consider. Zach Moss and Herbert are owned in less than 50% of leagues, so both of those guys might be out there for a pickup. Manolo asks Cole Kmet or Freiermuth. I'd go with Cole Kmet. We have about 10 minutes left of our show. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports. That way you know every time we go live and you can ask your fantasy and gambling questions. Make sure you're following us. We're going to be live a lot this week. Devontae Smith or DJ Moore. I'll lean just slightly towards DJ Moore. Lost both Henry and Pollard. Haskins or Rachaad White. I'll lean just slightly towards Rachaad White. Start Haskins tonight. I'm not crazy about him in that way unless you have to. With a lot of these people, it seems like you have to, but not crazy about it. Darth Vader, this is not a trap game. The Tennessee Titans they're playing their JV squad. If the Cowboys lose this game, it will be one of the most embarrassing losses of the season. I do not see the Cowboys losing, so I feel very confident in Cowboys money line. You can put that into a number of parlays. I feel like that's a very good play. Cowboys money line and some parlays. The Cowboys are going to win this game tonight. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 25,000 likes, we will do a quick poll question to tease this one. It is about the Dallas Cowboys and their playoff future. So if you want to have a quick poll question about the Dallas Cowboys and their playoff future, make sure you're hitting that like button as many times as you can. We'll do another quick poll once we hit 25,000 likes. Hit that like button. Let's get up there. Thoughts on Zeke tonight? Think Zeke gets an anytime touchdown? I think he could get you like 13 fantasy points. Evan Ingram or Goddard? I'd go Ingram. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Let's get up to 25,000 likes and do that quick poll question on the Cowboys playoff future. That's our quick poll question. We'll do it in just a bit once we hit 25,000 likes. All on you. Make sure you hit that like button. Justin Fields or Jared Goff? I would go with Jared Goff. Jared Goff would be the play for me. Zonovan Knight or Brian Robinson Jr. Really like both of them. I'll lean just slightly towards Zonovan Knight, but I like both of them a lot. Higbee, Kmet, or Knox? Chrissy, I would go with Higbee. I would definitely go with Higbee. McKinnon or Akers? Garrett, I would go with Cam Akers. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Once we hit 25,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll question about the Cowboys' future. Alt Aaron Jones, I personally don't think he will get a ton of work. What do you think? I actually think he could, simply because the Packers are in a must-win situation. So it's not like, they can rest somebody and preserve him. If you're not playing Aaron Jones this week, then what are you waiting for? What do you have him for? This is a playoff game for the Green Bay Packers. I don't think they can avoid injury issues. I think they've got to roll out the die, put all their chips in the middle of the table, whatever gambling analogy you want. They've got to do everything they can. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. The Dallas defense or the Jaguars defense? I'd go with the Dallas defense tonight. I'd take the Dallas defense tonight. Should you start DeAndre Swift this week? Absolutely. I really like DeAndre Swift this week. Cole Kmet or Schultz? I'll lean just slightly towards Cole Kmet. Better Once we hit 25,000 likes, we'll do a quick poll question. This one will be about the Dallas Cowboys and their playoff future, so make sure you're hitting that like button. Dog FC1 asks, Algier or Pacheco? Dog, I would go with Algier. Dog, I would go with Algier. Should I start Dak or wait to see if Hurts is a play? I would start Dak Prescott tonight. I think Dak Prescott has a really good game. Make sure you're following us at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And probably go high. For Broncos passing game. Appreciate all of you joining us. Guillermo405 asks, pick one for the flex. Foreman, Pacheco, Hubbard. I would go with Foreman. Sound, but it's not true. Lazard. Pacheco or Knight? I'm going Bam Knight beyond the scope. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. And of course, keep hitting that like button. Once we hit 25,000 likes, we'll do another quick poll. What will be most likely our last quick poll of the question, or rather of the evening. So make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that like button. Kamara, Garrett Wilson, or Zeke? I would go with Zeke. course, be following Butt Fumble Sports. Subscribe and follow. That way you know every time we go live, so you know what the latest is, and I can answer your fantasy questions to help you win your matchup. We're closing in on the end of our show for the evening, so make sure you're following us. We only have a few minutes left. Haskins or Moss or Walker over Jacobs? Moss, probably. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're following us at Butt Fumble Sports. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Let's get up there. Make sure you're following us. Walker the third or Foreman? I would go with Foreman. Burrow or Hurts? I'd go Joe Burrow. Let's get up to 25,000 likes. Let's do this last poll question. TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter.